Happy video day, guys. Christina, Brooke here. Today we're doing a brand new review on a new palette that you all requested that I pick up, and that is Pat McGrath's Moonlit Seduction. So if you have not seen my Make Up Your Mind on this palette, I did swatch out something similar in my collection. If you want to check out that video, I kind of get into details of what I thought this palette might look like and my overall point of view on it. But today's video, I actually have it in my hands, so this will be an actual first impression on the actual product. But yeah, you guys requested I pick this up. Just spoiler alert, I actually was not going to get this in my Make Up Your Mind. I actually thought that it looked too similar to most of her other palettes, and it just didn't wow me at all. But I decided to pick it up for you guys. There is something really special about Pat McGrath's formula, so it's not really like I'm not disappointed to have it in my collection because I do think her formula itself is a stunning formula. So today I'm going to be trying it out for you guys, giving you guys my first impression thoughts. I'll swatch it for you, show you guys real pictures of actually what it looks like with no filters on it. Pat McGrath. I hope you guys really enjoy this video. If you are new though, don't forget to go ahead and hit subscribe, and let's get into this palette right now. So first things first, a few little details on the palette in case you guys don't know. So this is one of Pat McGrath's motherships. So her motherships are her larger palettes. This is like the heavy duty expensive palettes. 127 US. Yes, very expensive palettes. In these palettes you are getting 10 shades. Inside of these larger palettes is where you're gonna get her real like interesting formula. I guess it's her special shades, her Blitz Astrals shades, which is like a very heavy duty glittery formula that's very, very unique, very, very beautiful. Usually there's 4 of them in these palettes, not always, but they're usually at the end of the palettes, usually in a corner. So in this palette you actually do get 4, and there's a lot of beautiful shades in here. This palette actually only has 3 mattes in it. There's like 2 metallics that look kind of like a satiny metallic, and then there's like a real metallic, really beautiful color. But it is an actual cool color story for Pat McGrath. I do think it's a cooler color story. There is a lot of rosy tones in her collection, which I know that when we saw this, and me included, when I saw these 2 pinky shades in here, I was not excited. I was actually kind of annoyed. I really wanted something different. I actually still think that if you replace those 2 pinks with like green shades, this palette would have still been absolutely stunning, but we got a pink again. It's not super, super like fuchsia pink, but it's more in the plumish family. I do believe that this is a little bit more similar to kind of in the direction she went with Divine Rose 1, but we will do some comparisons. So since I think it's really important for you guys to see swatches of this palette, because I do think that the images online are not as realistic as to what the palette looks like, let's go ahead and swatch it together, and after we swatch it, I will show you guys how I created this look, and then we'll get into some comparisons. So first, let's go ahead and swatch these shades here up on the top. So the first 2 shades are these 2 right here. Very cool tone, brownish, with a little bit of purple in it actually, but it's more brown. And then you have this really, really pretty, I believe it to be more like a satiny metallic. It's not as vibrant as some of her other metallics, but it still has very good shine. Pat McGrath's metallics are always pretty impactful, but this one doesn't have as much glitter in it. Then this brown, look at how beautiful this shade is. It's just a beautiful, cool tone brown, which I'm actually pretty excited for. I thought it was really interesting that she actually had a really cool brown. I like that. I do think it's a little different. It kind of reminds me, like I said, of Divine Rose One Direction, which I do like more. So then we have the next 2 shades, which are these 2 right here. We've got one more matte, and then we have another metallic, which is not as impactful of a metallic compared to the next one that you guys are going to see. But then we have this one right here, which is a nice gold, very pretty gold. More in my color family golds. This one was not like a very like ugh gold. Like I was kind of scared. I'm actually happy she didn't give us that crazy gold. It was more like what I hoped it would be like, so I'm happy about that. And then the other color is this one, and this is more of like that pinky tone, but it reminds me more of like a terracotta. So it has a little bit more of purple hints to it than it has rose, which is good, but there is a little bit of a pink effect that no matter what you can't stay away from when it comes to these palettes lately, which is not my favorite because I really wish I could do something like really different, and I feel like a lot of her palettes give me that pinky base color, which can't stray away from it. You just need something to blend, you know? Then the next one is this one and this one. So this is her most impactful metallic inside of the palette. When it comes to the metallics, it is actually a beautiful, almost like pewter, silvery shade, which I love. I think that shade is phenomenally beautiful. Like, I'm really, really loving that shade so much. It's so pretty. You guys can see the first few shades. I mean, it is a really pretty color story. Then we have this one right here, which is where she kind of gave us back a little bit more pink, but it's not really that pink. It's actually more of like a plum. However, I think to really have stepped away from the pinks, this plum should have been a lot more plummy, a little bit deeper, more rich, and it really would have kept us away from making the eyes look so pink. But we did stay a little bit within that pinky color family. So those are the first few shades. They are very, very pretty. And you know, you guys can see that's a really nice little color story going right there. Now the next ones are all the Blitz Astral formula, which is great. We've got 4 of them in this palette. Makes it a little bit more worth the money because this is a very interesting formula. It's really, really cool. So we've got this one, which is like a shade shifter. And then we've got this one that has a little bit more pink in it. Reminds me of a color from Bronze Seduction. So these are the next 2, both Blitz Astral, meaning that they've got a lot of glitter in them. Very fine, so pretty. So here is the shade shifter. This one here has a little bit of pink. It has purple. Basically has all the colors of the palette. You actually even see like a little bit of a lilac twist in there. It's a very cool shade. Then we've got this one, which it reminds me a lot of that color from Bronze Seduction. It's just a light pinky Blitz Astral. Very pretty for blending on top and like just adding all over the lid. It'll do a really beautiful, you know, it's gonna do a really beautiful subtle lid look with, you know, a lot of glitter. So I don't know how subtle of a lid look we're talking, but it's really, really pretty color. Then we've got 2 last shades in the palette, and they are these 2 here on the top. We've got like a silver and a gold. Are we shocked by gold in Pat McGrath? We are not. Pat McGrath loves herself some gold and pink. So we've got these 2 right here. So this is what they look like, silvery and gold. So we'll swatch this silvery color right here. Really, really pretty. I do feel like I've seen something similar to this, but it does go more in like a lilac-y direction. Like you see like a lilac hint in it. You'll see it better in my daylight swatches. And then we've got the gold, which is another beautiful gold Blitz Astral, which probably if you guys own a lot of her palettes, you may have something similar to that in your collection. But yeah, these are the swatches. This is what they look like. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys in daylight. You'll get a very good idea of what these look like right now because they'll be able to give you more detail. I do want you guys to stare at the Blitz Astrals though, because I will tell you there is a difference in hue here because you've got a pink, you've got one that's like white, you got one that's like a whitish lilac, and then you've got the gold. They are different. Thing is, when you put these on the lid, unless the colors are so different, sometimes you can't see the difference. So I don't know if we're going to see a big difference between all 3 of these on the lid. This shade shifter one, you probably are going to see a difference because it has like a pretty nice little base, so it's probably going to switch the color up and make it a little deeper. But these three, once you put them on the lid, I have a feeling they might all 3 look the same, which is kind of a bummer. It is great to have all 3 different shades. Yes, they're probably gonna do a little bit of a difference. I just don't know if it's like that much of a difference, you know? So I wish there was something different. Why wasn't there green in here? Am I always talking about green? But why wasn't there green in here? Could have been a really cool direction to add some green into this palette. Would have been really neat. But anyway, so this is what we got. I do think it's pretty. I think it's very safe. I don't think that creativity-wise she gave us anything immaculate with this palette, and I'm actually kind of shocked because I do think the Pat McGrath team is very creative. I just don't understand why we're not seeing that much creativity for the past few years. So after I'm done showing you guys how this performs on the lids, I'll show you guys some quick comparisons, and then we'll get into some final thoughts. All right, the mothership is here. I am so excited. I mean, like, I don't think I was like super excited to pick up this palette. I mostly picked up this palette because you guys wanted me to. If you saw my Make Up Your Mind, you know why I wasn't that excited, but you know, she's here. I'm doing this for you. So this beautiful black heavy duty packaged item is here. Look how pretty she is, just like all her other palettes. And here is what the inside actually looks like, because you guys know Pat McGrath puts so much filters on her imagery that sometimes we don't even know what these palettes are actually going to look like. So this is what it looks like. I'll show you guys daylight swatches. You guys will see a better idea of what it looks like. This is a pretty cool tone palette. You know, I thought it was going to be cool toned, and it pretty much is. Very pretty aesthetically looking at it. It's a very pretty basic though palette. It doesn't have much wow factor to it, and just looking at it, like first impression wise, it looks like it might give me pink lids. So let's just try this, because I'm hoping that it gives me something more than just pink. Let's take off this paper. All right, so let's play with the formula. I wonder why there was two, like these two colors right here, guys. Like why didn't we have, like, I wish this would have had green. Like, I really feel like this palette right here, we would have substituted those like pinks for like green tones. Would have been so cool. It would have matched so well too. Why pink again? But anyways, let's use this first one. It's kind of like a terracotta-y pink. It's not as pink. Let's see what it looks like on the lids. So very nice. I mean, it's a very pretty tone. I will say, I'm just like looking at this color and thinking that it actually blends into a color that's very similar in Divine Rose 1. Not like anything like super out of this world amazing color wise, but it's a very pretty color. So, I mean, it could definitely be very useful. I could see a lot of people liking this color, but it definitely, you see, we're going in a pink direction already. Like, it's not pink. It's not like hot pink or anything, but you're definitely going again into that rosy tone lids, you know? Next thing I want to do is kind of grab into this more pinky color, and I want to put that on the outer V and kind of just deepen out the edge. I want to just see how much deeper this is than the other one. So it is pretty deep. It's more of like a plum, which makes me happy. I do like plum a lot more than I like pinks or roses, but I still have hair in my mouth. I would still say that it could have even been a little bit more rich for me in the plum department to really make it stand out. It's a very pretty look. I really do think that this palette ties into Divine Rose 1. These colors are not identical to the colors that you have in that palette, but like I can see these two working well with the colors from Divine Rose 1. Let's go into probably the color that I'm most excited for, which is so funny. It's not a very exciting color, but I'm most excited for this really cool toned, almost like brownish with a little bit of maybe like a purpley hint to it. I'm actually the most excited for this color. In my opinion, it's probably the most unique color for Pat McGrath, because I'm not used to seeing like this type of cool tone from her. Really wish that this would have been with greens or something different than pink. It does help to smoke out the outer V. At least helps to hide that pinky tone a little bit. So I think I can do some interesting looks because of this color alone, but that I think it's going to be like not in the pink family. I don't think that's going to be possible. But it's a very pretty color. I like that deepening shade. I'm happy. I'm actually super happy that this was here. Most important color in the palette, I think, was that one. All right, so let's grab into some of these cool shades here. Let's play with this one right here. It's kind of like a cool tone. Oh, that's like a cool tony champagne color. Very pretty. And then why don't we just grab one of these Blitz Astrals here. These are her exaggeratedly beautifully done glitters that her line is basically known for, you know, and I don't have any in like these shades, so that I'm happy for, because I like these shades. They're so cool. Let's try this like purpley tone one. Let's see if, let's put that right here. I need to do some research on these Blitz Astral shades. I need to play with more colors and see if they're too similar. But let's grab this one right here, the dark purplish. Let's blend that onto the lower lash line. Then we're gonna just grab this shade right here again, and let's blend everything. We're gonna put a little on the lower lash line, blend this color. We're gonna bring it up. We're gonna blend it up on the top. I mean, very, very, very pretty. Let's grab a little bit of this gold right here. Let's add it here in the center. And a little bit of this one, middle going up. Liner mascara. I'll be right back and I'll show you guys the final look. All right, so here is the final look. I don't know, this looks kind of pretty, but let's zoom out and I'll give you guys my final thoughts on the palette. All right, so you guys saw how it worked. I have to say the final look is beautiful. I don't expect anything less from Pat McGrath palettes though. I really feel like her formula really excels. I do love her formula. I think it's stunning. There's something about the blendability of the palette that just really is amazing. Now, that being said, I don't think that this is the most creative palette, and there's a few reasons why. This beautiful eye look that I have on my lids today, I have created something very similar using, I believe it was Celestial Divinity, that gave me something very similar to this that I feel like I created last year or the year before when I got Celestial Divinity. I also feel like this kind of look you can recreate using Divine Rose 1. It's just going to be a little bit more on the purpley side because Divine Rose 1 didn't have as much pink in it. This one actually has more pink because you guys can see the pink coming through. It's a purpley pink, but when it blends, that's the problem. When it blends, the pigment starts to go away and you see more pink than purple, right? So that base tone is keeping my lids on the pink direction, which I wanted to go in a different direction. I feel like this look, even though it's stunning, is not something that I cannot achieve with some of my other Pat McGrath palettes, okay? So that is the downside. I do think that there's beautiful colors in here, and I love the 4 Blitz Astrals that she gave us. I think that's great to have that formula. It's a beautiful formula. Downside for me, I don't typically wear this much glitter on my lids very often. So having that I have a few Blitz Astrals in my Bronze Seduction, and I have it in my Divine Rose 1, and I have it in my Utopian Dream, I do feel like so many Blitz Astrals to me is just not going to be used very often. So it's just, you know, it's kind of a waste. Now, if you are new to Pat McGrath, right? So if you're a new Pat McGrath person, you don't have a bunch of her palettes, I would say either Divine Rose 1 or this one is a really good introduction to the brand because they're very useful palettes. I do not feel like this palette is one of those that's gonna sit around and you're gonna have a hard time using, except for the glittery shades. Obviously, you need to have an event or something that you wanna put glitter on your eyes to use those 4 shades. But the rest of the shades here are very easy to use. I think that they create really pretty eye looks, day looks, can turn them into night looks. And I am excited to do my 5-day challenge with that palette because I think I can create some really gorgeous looks. If it was me, and I would recommend to a newbie, somebody getting into Pat McGrath's line, whether they should pick up something like Divine Rose 1 or this new Moonlit Seduction, I think I would still go with Divine Rose 1 because Divine Rose 1, in my opinion, even though it had less of the Blitz Astral, I think you only got 1 in this palette, right? It had a little bit more universal looks. I could feel like I do more with this palette. But what I do actually kind of enjoy is that I feel like these 2 palettes are actually going to probably work really well together. They are different. Both of them have warmth and coolness to them, but they are plays on each other. And I feel like it's just another version of Divine Rose 1. And it could play really nice with Divine Rose 1. So I'm excited to play with these 2 together. But I don't think anybody needs both of them. I just think if you have both of them, they could probably play really well together. So I'll quickly show you guys my Utopian Dream. So Utopian Dream looks like this, which she's a little bit haggard. I have been using her a little bit. I think you guys can see this pink theme we keep on seeing between the pinks with the golds. At least this one went more cool tone. It is a difference from this one because this one was a little bit more bright and it has like more like pigmented colors when it comes to the pinks and stuff. And this one's a little bit more cool, a little bit more a little bit more cool. I think it's a little bit more refined. The Celestial Odyssey to me is the one that I actually created something really similar to this one. So you guys can see these two palettes side by side. There's some similarities there. There's definitely some similarities between the two. And actually, since we're at it, why don't I just show you Odyssey? I actually have used this palette quite a lot. This is a really good one. Probably my favorite big palette she's released. And if you guys can see, there is some similarities between these two too. You look at those purples. Actually, you know what? This was probably the palette. This was probably the palette that I created a similar eye look with. If you guys can see, there is a nice similarity between these two when it comes to some of these colors. There's the coolness and everything like that. So definitely, I feel like in the Pat McGrath range, I don't feel like this is so unique. I really don't. So it's one of those things, like for somebody like me who has a lot of her palettes, like I said in my Make Up Your Mind, it didn't seem like it was that interesting for me to pick up, right? I'm happy I have it. I think it's a beautiful palette. I think it's gonna create some amazing looks. But if I was you out there watching, I would say if you have a lot of her palettes, think about it, whether you really want this color story or if you already have something super similar. If you are new to Pat McGrath and you don't have many of her palettes, I would say between this one and Divine Rose 1, those are two really good starter palettes that have beautiful shades. And actually, if you get this one, the Moonlit Seduction, you're gonna get more of her glittery Blitz Astral shade that everybody talks about. So it might be a really nice introduction to Pat McGrath's line. But anyways, those are my thoughts on the palette. I will be doing a 5-day challenge, meaning I'm gonna use this palette for 5 days straight to give it to you guys straight on exactly all the looks that you can create and what I overall think of the palette. That is coming, so don't forget to subscribe for that, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.